We are live. How exciting is that? We are live. Good evening. Welcome. Good evening. Happy Moon Day. It is October 16th already. Seriously, by next week, we will be in Libra season already. And that's just super bizarre. Super, super, super bizarre. I'm excited. Who is here? If you would like to participate in the chat, please become a subscriber and say hello and let me know where you're tuning in from. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Graciela Moore. I am a certified personal coach by the International Coaching Federation via lumiacoaching.com. And if, content creator and social media and all that, but I wrote Moon Magic and Mindfulness with Grace 2023 manifestation agenda / journal. And we have been following the moon and the astrology every single week since last year. Aw, and look at us, right? I'm so proud and so excited. So whether you are watching live, thank you for being here. Welcome. Or if you're watching the replay, still leave a comment. I would still love to connect with you. And I'm just so grateful that you're here and watching. So let's get on with it. We start the week with the moon in Scorpio. And we also have to backtrack a little bit because last episode, last moon day, was the new moon episode, but the new moon didn't happen until Saturday. So this is kind of like the moment to have that conversation, even though last week we did discuss the questions for the journaling. If you're following the book, then you know that it's a planner and it's an agenda, but it also has specific journaling questions for every new moon and for every full moon. It also gives you an opportunity to journal every moon day because this is what I like to do. And this system of waiting until Monday to then plan out the rest of the week, this system of organizing my week, my life into weekly chunks. There's the book, The 12-Week Year. There's, quarters. Obviously, that's essentially 12 weeks is a quarter. There's systems of really narrowing down and organizing your life monthly. And I like to do it not just weekly, but with that lunar cycle in mind, right? And so the new moon did start a brand new lunar cycle for us, but we did have that solar eclipse. If you are subscribed and you are available to chat, I would love to hear how your Saturday went. What did you do while the eclipse was happening? And how did you feel? These are questions that I like to ask for the purpose of like personal research. Hi, Peter. Welcome, Mr. Peter Sobey. I'm so happy that you're here. You came in just in time for weekly chunks. Well, that's the book, right? It's the opportunity to really focus on living life 1 week at a time and essentially 1 month at a time, right? And that's kind of what we've been doing all year long by following the book, right? And in his book, there's a book by Deepak Chopra, Reinventing the Body, Resurrecting the Soul, How to Create a New You by Deepak Chopra. He mentions how for some of us trauma survivors, sometimes it really is a necessity to narrow life down to a day-to-day type of thing. Now, I have shared this sentiment or thought, right, with people who have refuted that by letting me know or by telling me or by just announcing, right, that living day to day is not that productive or is a definite sign of still living in triggers or still living in, the distress, right, of the trauma. Yet, so there's that view. Yet, of course, I mean, all love and respect to Deepak Chopra, obviously, right? Like, who am I to disagree? And that's kind of what I thought, right, about that. But as a personal coach, as a trauma survivor, and definitely as a mother of a special needs child, day to day can absolutely be very productive if you strategize, if you really take moments to ponder the big picture, the grand plan. And I'm not talking about the destiny grand plan that spirit or God or whoever has for you, but the plan that you have for yourself and the vision that you have ahead, right? And the thing about the solar eclipse and why I'm going into the vision and why I'm going into that plan that we have for ourselves is because, as I explained last week, the eclipses tend to be those bookends, right? That's why they call it eclipse season. And last week's eclipse was the bookend for the April 20th eclipse that we had earlier in the year. So, really, if you think about the winter equinox as New Year, not the Gregorian calendar, right? We've talked about these differences before, the Gregorian calendar versus the astrological kind of planetary calendar. We could even call it geological calendar, but maybe not. Anyway, if you ponder, if you look at New Year's Eve as that winter equinox, then the eclipses that happen around April, it's almost a full half of a year. And then half a year later, we have the other eclipses, like last Saturday. So if you see it in that way, then you have a full 12-month calendar or 13-month calendar broken into two chunks, the eclipse seasons, and what you plan to do in those 6 months and what life could look like in 6 months. And if you are one of those people who is kind of like apprehensive about dreaming big or answering questions like, where are you going to be in 3 years? Where are you going to be in 5 years? I mean, I had to answer that question like 3 times while I was working on my life coach certification. And it almost felt like people pleasing to put yourself in a position to kind of have to dream big, even if you've never done that. And it's not that I've never dreamt big, because I had very big visions, right? I was the 7-year-old child in the island of Puerto Rico, literally not just daydreaming about leaving, but sort of gauging life around me and figuring out how to make that happen. Now, for lots of reasons, it was more of an escape plan. But I made it happen. 21 years later, where was I? In the United States. Yay! I made it, right? And so people like me, sensitive people who struggle with being put on the spot. I know I don't look it, but this is all still, plenty for me to be very nervous. And you've been here before. You have seen me nervous and you see me stutter, and now I'm getting itchy about it, right? So breaking big visions into smaller chunks will always be more helpful. Think about how you cut the steak for your child or the piece of chicken, or, some children won't even grab a whole piece of nugget and you have to cut it into fours, right? So whatever your brain needs. And these are some of the questions that the new moon in the book asked for Saturday. Like, how can I honor my journey, right? And that means the past, that means the present and the healing moving forward. How can you honor your vision? How can you honor the plan that you have, which The plan for yourself is not the plan for your family, but they have to intersect, right? And so, how can I honor my journey and that's the full question and accommodate others at the same time? And what an interesting word accommodation is, and how timely that in this season of my life, I am seeking very specific accommodations for my child. And there's the question in the book that I wrote. And it still blows my mind how that keeps happening. Honestly, it's a little spooky, but we can talk about it later. Anyway, how can I honor my journey and accommodate others in my experience? And I feel like part of honoring my journey is accommodating my needs first, because otherwise, how can I be fully present in order to accommodate others? We've also discussed this before, right? Peter, if you're still here, where were you during the solar eclipse and how was that? That was Saturday. What is something I'm being called to work on and how can I address it without judgment? Without judgment is the key phrase here. It is Libra season, and the epitome of Libra topics or themes is justice, right? The scales and fairness. And so I feel like part of the collective grief and collective discomfort and collective just struggle in watching the horrific events happening, right, across the world. I'm not going to mention anything because I've already noticed how people are getting banned for actually identifying and speaking about it. So you know what I'm talking about. And it's, you know how I love to connect the astrology to what's happening in the world, even if it's horrific, because it's not that it validates it. It's just a curiosity thing. Like, how interesting. Like, I don't think I have the authority to kind of validate that what's happening out there is 100% connected to the astrology that we discuss here. But how interesting, isn't it, that we are all collectively having conversations and pondering topics like fairness and topics like justice and topics like peace and harmony, which are all Libra topics during Libra season, right? And during these very specific transits that I've mentioned in the past 2 weeks that sadly coincided with the events, right? So, what is something I'm being called to work on and how can I address it without judgment? I feel like I've seen plenty of times, not just in myself, but clients, friends, and family, how apprehensive we are to take action sometimes for whatever reason: fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of all of these things, right? And so we don't take action. But not taking action because of that fear, I feel like, is a self-judgment. You're judging yourself. You're not giving the world a chance to judge the action that you take because you're not taking it to begin with. I hope that makes sense, right? It's like if you point, why are you pointing if there's 3 fingers pointing at you, right? And so we judge ourselves too often, too deeply, and too inconspicuously, I feel like. And I say it like that because sometimes we do it and we don't even notice. That's what I mean by that, right? And if you are judging yourself to the point that you don't even notice, and that's just your standard mode of operation, then you're not grounded. I'm sorry, but you're not grounded, right? And you're not necessarily healing, because if you were, you would stop and take a look and assess and then reevaluate and then change the course moving forward. Does that make sense? Oh my gosh, I'm rambling. Okay, Peter Sobey says, I was just walking Oh, I was just waking up after working really, really late on Friday night and I totally missed it. Well, that's wonderful. But what I have to say about that is how interesting that you were up late on Friday night, so you were kind of restless and you were creative, and that's why you were working late. And you may have been also motivated by a deadline or something like that, but I don't know, but we can confirm later. And then you were exhausted the next day, which is very common. And I remember texting Peter about how I was exhausted on Saturday as well, right? And that was some of the common themes that we may have experienced last Saturday with the solar eclipse, the partial solar eclipse that happened. I think it peaked around 1:40 something Eastern Standard Time. However, it was only visible on the west coast, down the Rocky Mountains and into Central America and down Brazil. I did explain its trajectory last week, so you can get back to last week's episode and check that out. But okay, thank you, Peter. Last question from the new moon on Saturday was, what plants do I want to nurture this last quarter of the year? Oh my gosh. Ding, 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 ding. We are all, I'm looking for my bell. We are already ding, ding, ding in the last quarter of the year. Can you believe it? What was your mindset around April 20th of this year? What were the goals that you set out to do this year? Or what were the goals that you set out to do on April 20th on that new moon? See, the thing about solar eclipses that I explained last week, and I will wrap it up here to move on to this week because we're still just talking about Saturday. The thing about eclipses is that each eclipse serves as a kind of new moon energy type of thing that begins a cycle. And then in this coming full moon next week, we're going to have an eclipse as well, a lunar eclipse, right on that full moon. And so that will be a culmination of the previous chapter. And so what's happening? Lots happening. The affirmation for the new moon was, I appreciate other people's input and value those who respect my input, right? It's sometimes so powerful to put things into words because it allows for us to really just not take things for granted, right? If you can verbalize that you value the people that value your input, or if you can actually verbalize that you appreciate other people's input and value the people who respect your input, then you're more likely to remember that when you are in a situation with someone who is giving you input that you value, and then you might just experience gratitude right then and there. You see how that works? Magic. All right. So like I said, we start the week with the moon in Scorpio. Deep, I should say depth. There you go. Depth, secrets, shadow. And I absolutely love a new / crescent moon in Scorpio. Because as the moon is increasing its light, as the crescent is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, all the way to Saturday with that first quarter, this is the time for insight. That is the time for clarification. So whatever shadow work was started this weekend with the new moon, and whatever is deep in your subconscious, right, in the dark, whatever is in the dark about this season of your life might just come to light in this crescent, right? As the moon just increases in light, reaches that peak beautiful moment on the first quarter. And the thing that's going to happen on Saturday, along with that first quarter, is a beautiful Cassimi between Mercury and the sun. And we've talked about this before. That is such a favorable transit for clarification and insight. And the thing is, and why I titled this live the way that I titled it, is because we don't get insight and then we look back and ponder, like, why wasn't I warned about this? Why didn't I have a clue? Why didn't I see the red flags? Ooh, I had this conversation this morning during a call, right? What were the red flags and why didn't I see them? Why do I feel disconnected? Why am I so clueless about this? And all of those questions are ruled by Mercury, who rules our ideas, our intellects, our beliefs, our mindset patterns, our negative thinking, as well as our positive, optimistic thinking, right? Everything that has to do with the mind is ruled by Mercury. And when Mercury is in this very favorable conjunction with the sun, who illuminates, who sheds light on, right? Who is the life giver. Um, that is the prime opportunity for an aha moment, a eureka moment. So, if you have been confused about something in your life, if you've been specifically seeking direction about a specific situation in your life, if you have been waiting for inspiration, I have a lot of artists in my docket, and I can relate as well to kind of having to do things that are creative, but yet you're kind of in that moment of, you're kind of in that spot of, I am going to get it done. I'm just waiting for that perfect moment of inspiration to get into it. Well, that might just be this coming Saturday. So, as you know, I'm very good with checking in. My moon in Cancer just wants to check in on all of you. So I will be texting my subscribers and my besties on Saturday or Sunday and be like, hey, what's up? Any new ideas? Any eureka moments? Any aha moments? You know, have we discussed something in the past that now makes total sense? Because that's how that clarification comes, right? Something that just makes total sense. And what happens after you make sense of something is part of that flow, right? This week, also, Mars in Scorpio can be very dramatic. I mentioned this last week, but this transit is going to go for a few more days. So, this is why I'm bringing it up again. Again, we're back in Scorpio, and I still haven't gone past today's moon because it's that serious, in my opinion, right? Scorpio, again, can be very transformative because it digs deep into that subconscious to then crawl out with with that insight, right? And so what I am hoping is that we are all level-headed enough and grounded enough and in tune enough to not be the cause of the confrontations that could ensue. Hold that thought. Let's break it down. Mars is the planet of action. So, saying something, stirring the pot, right? Arguing, right? Planet is also Mars is also the planet that rules war. So any type of argument, any type of opposition, any type of why are you not on my side? Any type of I thought you supported me, right? But the fact that it is in Scorpio makes it even more darker, sinister, sarcastic, mean, selfish, secretive. Secrets can be so not helpful. I apologize. Secrets can be so hurtful. I was going to say hurtful and then I said helpful. And so Scorpio rules secrets along with, Pluto, but Pluto rules like very explosive, horrific secrets, right? Because Pluto is the darkest of the darkest, as it is the farthest away planet, and we have no clue what's up with that, right? So, Moon in Scorpio, if you're feeling uncomfortable at the end of the day, if you are feeling angry, and it has to do with deep rooted triggers, deep rooted beliefs, then how are you maneuvering those emotions and what are you going to do moving forward, right? Once Moon in Scorpio transitions into the moon into in Sagittarius tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday, then we have a little bit more direction. And that's the beautiful thing about doing this work and keeping track of your insight and journaling and just being in tune. And when I say in tune, I guess I should rephrase it and say when you're in correspondence, right? Because I feel like when it comes to a spiritual practice, journaling constantly becomes that literal channel, right? And so you're communicating and establishing that relationship, right? And so the words that you're putting, the things that you're putting into words right now, and the things that you're trying to make sense of right now, and the things that you are holding space for in your body right now during this moon in Scorpio will hopefully have a little bit more of direction when the moon is in Sagittarius, right? Think of that arrow that just you point it and it goes straight, right? It's not a boomerang that comes back, right? Sagittarius is very directed, very focused. And so, and it's also a fire sign, so it doesn't take any prisoners. And at the same time, it can be a bit selfish because it's like, I'm so directed that no one's going to hold me back, right? So there's a lot that can be said about figuring out what's in the rubble, figuring out what's in the shadow, and then directing it in the best, healthiest, and most productive way to where it needs to go. And don't think that it needs to go somewhere specific. I mean, it could literally just go away. It could literally just go into the ground, into the water, into the pot if you're going to burn it, into the trash. Like, don't think that when I say it needs to go somewhere, that you actually need to point it at the calendar and say, this intention is going to go over there. No, no, no. When I say point whatever it is that you're working on or working through in a specific direction, it's all in the context of moving the wheel along and moving along with it, right? So I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, please just ask a question. Peter, how are we doing? How are you doing? And I see a few more people in here. If you would like to chat, please subscribe. And we definitely want to hear from you. I'm so excited that you're here. After the moon is in Sagittarius, we go into the moon in Capricorn, and that's going to be the rest of the week. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Actually, Sunday is when we transition into that Scorpio season. And yeah, I'm excited. Last year, not only do we have the episodes from Scorpio season to look back on, I do remember the season. Last year, it was my first Scorpio season, not only coaching highly sensitive empaths, but also hosting a lot of highly sensitive empaths live on the X app every week. And I'm not saying that it had something to do with Scorpio season, but for the first time in my life, and I mean that, for the first time ever, I did feel the kind of seasonal depression that we all get into, and how dark that transition can feel when the earth and nature is fast forwarding into the next season every single day. Nature changes, and how our body just adjusts to that, right? Especially for highly sensitive empaths, people that kind of need to be connected to nature. We already are. We all are. I'm not saying that we are not, like, one or the other. We all are connected to nature, but sensitive people just kind of gravitate to that need, right? Neurodivergent people want to be in nature. And there's a big reason for that, right? So that is it for the week. And let's see my notes. Venus is still in Virgo, so that means a reorganization of Venusian topics in your life. So if you've recently changed your aesthetic and then you had to organize a new aesthetic and put it into play and take action on that, that may be a Venus in Virgo type of season for you. Peter Sobe says, it's a very productive moon day, and I always get energized after listening to your show and meditation, so I can't wait for your meditation. Springboard into a completely productive Monday evening. That's right, Peter, because you're in California, so it's only 6 for you. That's wonderful, and thank you so much. We're about to transition into that. So Venus in Virgo, it's can be very productive. I think Venus in Virgo has helped us reorganize our views on those Venusian topics I mentioned, like beauty, aesthetics, music, as a fan of Taylor Swift, I feel like I experience or observe certain thought patterns in my fan life, when it was the Venus retrograde a few weeks ago versus now that Venus is in Virgo. I'm a Virgo rising, so there's a lot happening. I have a whole wall that I want to kind of redo and just things like that. And I say Taylor Swift because the wall, it's all about that. So it's like a fan wall, right? And then at the end of the day, what I want to focus on and hope that we all focus on is what needs to be prioritized in order to then continue seeking out the balance and the harmony. And I mentioned earlier on the X app, I put it on a tweet. We still call them tweets, even though it's not called Twitter anymore, but okay. To not be intimidated by the word action, right? Mars in Scorpio, what is the action that's going to be taking place? When things come to a head, what's going to happen, right? Don't be intimidated when I say take action. Taking action can be something as simple as clicking a button or not clicking a button, right? Taking action can be as simple as unfollowing someone or following someone, right? There's that button again. But it could be a word said. This is not the week to not say what you don't mean. This is the week to only speak what you mean. So, what is your truth is the question that kind of should overlap everything else. And if you don't know what your truth is, then I really encourage you to make a list of the things that you really like for yourself and not because someone else taught you to like it. That's a very interesting question, right? I mean, I love playing the guitar. I absolutely love playing the guitar and singing. But did I choose it? Or was I kind of cornered and given a guitar and not given a choice? Right? So, what is your truth? Once you answer that question, you can better grip your truth when you need it most, when it comes into question, when someone attacks your authenticity or your autonomy, right? All of these topics. It's so fascinating how these topics come into the picture, not just with the astrology, but in my personal life as well. My mind is blown right now. So let's do our meditation, shall we? If you just joined us and if it's your first time watching the show, every episode concludes with a mindfulness meditation. So if you're driving, do not close your eyes. But if you are comfortable and ready, let's go ahead and meditate. Both feet on the ground or lay back and relax. We're going to take some deep belly breaths. Now, if you're sitting down, belly breaths will not be as profound because your core is already engaged, but it's okay. Just take a deep breath and elevate your shoulders and just try to expand like a big tree and then exhale, right? So it'll still work just as fine. And music for this meditation is brought to you by Brain FM. You can find a free trial in the link in the bio. We're going to go to meditation and unguided, and let's begin. Both feet on the ground. Focus your attention on your slow, steady breath. Breathe nice and slow. Take this moment and center. Relax. And with me, take a deep breath in through your nose, nice and slow. Slow, 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 deep breath in all the way. Hold it at the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, and breathe out through your mouth. Nice and slow. Extended breath out. Hold it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and breathe in again through your nose. Deep, 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 deep breath in through your nose. Hold it at the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, and breathe out through your mouth. Nice and long, deep breath. Exhale. Hold it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and relax. And as you relax, in this moment under a dark, starry sky, the air is still. Nature is quiet. And in this moment, the tiniest slither of moon shows up to keep you company, to inspire you, to encourage harmonious connections, fair interactions, and authentic moments of self-expression. This crescent moon slowly guides you and if your mind is a maze of confusion and questions, simply focus on your breathing and offer up the question. And offer up the intention to receive an answer. What will you ask? And remember that asking the right question is everything. With me, take one deep, long breath in through your nose. Deep, deep, deep breath in. Hold it at the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, and breathe out nice and slow through your mouth. Long, extended breath out. Hold it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and breathe in again through your nose. Deep breath in through your nose. Hold it at the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, and breathe out through your mouth. Long breath out. Hold it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and relax. And as you relax, ponder these affirmations or repeat them. I appreciate other people's input and value those who respect my input. I welcome passionate and positive interactions that are filled with hope. I am loved. I am safe. I am grateful. With me, take one last breath in through your nose. Deep breath in through your nose all the way. Hold it at the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, and let it go through your mouth. Long breath out all the way. Hold it at the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, and relax. And as you relax, bring your attention to your body. Wiggle your toes. Open your eyes. And come back to me. And that concludes this wonderful conversation. Peter, thank you so much for keeping me company. And everyone else in the room, I'm so grateful that you watched and that you tuned in live. I am excited to get to know you all. Thank you so much for subscribing and supporting the channel. Again, if you would like a free trial and a discounted membership to Brain FM, music for your brain, I've been using this for over a year and I recommend it to everyone I know. Then check the link in the bio if you would like to book a confidential coaching call. All the links are there. And I'm going to go work on our book for next year. So I'm so excited to be able to do that tonight. Peter and I will both be working creatively. I mean, I don't know what he's doing, but he said he was doing something productive. So there you go. Thank you all so much for watching. A little bit of housekeeping before I log off. This week, I'm sending my Patreon subscribers our little October handout. This handout includes, Peter said yes, this handout includes a mindfulness handout, an audio meditation that you get to keep, and the PDF printable version of the month ahead for this book. So if you would like to support everything that I do and then be a part of this group of amazing individuals, then become a Patreon in the link in the description. It's $5 a month, and then I send you all of that. And I'm so excited and so grateful for all of you that support me through that. Thank you again, Peter. I love you all, and I will see you next Moon Day. Bye.